Thank you. Thank you, dear Mark. And I want to say, I want to find the message. Thank you to Barbara and Martha and Catherine. I'm touched beyond words. I didn't know. Mark just told me right a couple of minutes before we started today. I will share with you, I am not used to receiving. I'm used to giving. And so I'm making an effort right now on myself to actually take it in. I'm very touched. I'm seeing Barbara right now. Thank you. Really, it's very moving. It's very moving. Dear friends, welcome to this space. I was hearing Mark speak about end of the year, and I really want to encourage you to give. I want to share that when I was writing my PhD and, was barely making it, and I always felt I'm the one who can't really afford to give. And I think sometimes we make ourselves smaller than we are. Even giving $8 is very empowering. So please don't think that, oh, it's not you. And I see Martha also. That's great. Just give. It's one of the best ways to be really empowered and to be a part of the amazing work that IGS is doing. I think what IGS is doing is absolutely unique and necessary, and you're here because you know it. So yeah, okay, my dears. I want to invite us to start by connecting to the place, Hamakom, which is first of all the place that we are sitting in right now, each of us. We're going to be talking about this with the parasha today, but I want us to start with an actual experience of place. And so closing our eyes and sitting up straight, comfortable. Now is still a good time if you still need to close any other devices or windows or doors. Put anything down to offer to yourself first the gift of presence. Here and now. Where are you now? Right, just taking a moment to connect to Hamakom Hazeh, this place, maybe your home, maybe another space. Just a moment to acknowledge and to maybe express gratitude for this space that holds us, that protects us from the cold. A place that gives us a shelter and intimacy and warmth and goodness. This makom, which is in the makom where you live, in the city or the village or the natural countryside, wherever you are, the environment where you live, hamakom, where are you on this planet? This is actually a practice from of Menachem Eckstein in Vienna. You kind of zoom out. Where am I? Oh, I'm in this little dot somewhere on the planet, and it's my place. It's where I am in this world. And I love doing it sometimes because it helps me really literally put things in perspective. Like really seeing this little kadur, this little ball in space. And we're here, protected by the ozone and this very generous planet. Breathing and walking on the earth. In the place that God or our Neshama decided we were going to be planted in. Maybe you're where you were born and where you grew up. Maybe you're in a different place. And that's your place. That's your makom for today. Let's take a couple of minutes with this, just feeling myself in my place. Feeling in a way that is very embodied, feeling the body resting on the chair and the feet on the floor of this makom, of this place. We take a beautiful breath in, out. You can stay like this with your eyes closed. I'm going to open the soul sheet and read from it and offer a short teaching before going into our meditation for today. You can decide to open your eyes and look at the soul sheet, or just to stay like this and listen to my voice and stay grounded in your makom and go deeper and deeper. We're reading one of my favorite parashiot. Thank you, Rachel, for sharing the screen. Parashat Vayetze, with Yaakov, who goes out. Vayetze, he went out of the house of his father towards the house of his uncle. And it's actually a tragic movement because he's running away from the anger of his brother. And then we have this very famous pasuk verse at the beginning. Vayifga b'makom vayelen sham ki ba Hashem. And he met this place, he encountered this place, and he decided to sleep there because the sun was going away. And he took from the stones of the place, placed them at his head, and he laid down in that place. So we're talking about avnei hamakom, the stones of the place, and then veishkav b'makom hahu, he lay down in this place. And so we have the term makom repeated 3 times here, 3 times in a verse. And we know that usually when there are repetitions in the Torah, it's never a coincidence. Okay, you may know this or you may not know. I'm going to take a step aside from the parasha now. When we offer words of consolation to mourners, we say, Hamakom yinachem otach. May the place comfort you. Because this term, the place, is one of the names of the divine. And so I produced here a short teaching of Bereshit Rabba of the Midrash. And the Midrash tells us this sentence that has become very famous, which is, Akadosh Baruch Hu, it's the last line, the Holy One, blessed be they, is the place of the world, and his world is not his place. Akadosh Baruch Hu, hu mekomo shel haolam, ve'ein olamo mekomo. There is something about the relationship between the earth, the world, which is the physicality of existence, and this is the place of God. But God doesn't live there. The world is not the place of God. God is the place of the world. Okay, the world is within the divine. But the world is not the place of God because life source is beyond space. Life source is beyond space. And so our makom is part of the divine. but the divine is much, much greater than this. And what I want to share, and you can stop sharing the screen, is just this. Thank you so much, Rachel. Yaakov is in a no man's land. He's in an in-between space. He's in a liminal space. The space has no name, right? The Pasuk says he left Beersheba, he's going to Haran, so we have two names of places. But where he is nowhere. There is no name. It's just a place, because that's where he is. And there is this very famous Buddhist saying that says, wherever you go, there you are, right? And if I wanted to translate this in Jewish terms, I would say, wherever you are, this is your place. This is your makom. Because wherever you are, God is there. And the Midrash actually says something really beautiful about this, that the divine says, basically, I am here. And when we are present, then actually we really are kind of taking our space within the world of God. It's actually always there with us. It's just that we don't always remember. And that is, in my view, one of the beautiful, beautiful healing, really, movements of meditation, is that it helps us come back home to the place, come back home to the house of God, which is within me and which is around me. And so the short meditation I would like for us to do today is this, from the Sefer Yetzirah, that says, Ve'imratz libcha, shuv lamakom. And if your heart runs away, come back to the place. And you can see it two ways. You can read this two ways. You can read this as return to the place, return to your body, right? If your heart, the lev is the attention in Hebrew. So if your attention, if your mindfulness kind of goes astray, come back to your body. And then another way of reading it, and it's not either or, it's actually both. Come back to the divine. Come back to this, the source of life that's at the heart of you, at the heart of the world. Where we are is the place. So let's close our eyes. Inviting a deep breath in again. A delicious breath out. And can we, during this meditation, really, really settle in the place? We don't need to go anywhere else for now. Even in our mind, we don't need to go anywhere else. Wherever is happening in the mind is happening. All we have to do is come back to the place, come back to the body, come back to the divine. Let the head do exactly what it does, produce thoughts. Just let them be. Just shift the focus. We're shifting the focus towards being grounded in the place. Bamakom. So let's do this. Ve'imratz libcha, shuv lamakom. If your heart runs astray, just come back to the place. And you may really hold in your heart at the same time the place as really the center of your being, and also at the same time visualizing yourself in this little dot of earth on this planet. We're going to be slowly bringing this meditation to a close in the next 4 minutes. I want to invite us to set an intention in the light of what we can learn from the story of Yaakov. Because Yaakov is really our father, Israel, the father of the tribes. And Yaakov, at the time of this dream, he had no place. He had left the house of his father. He wasn't there at the house of his uncle. And he actually had to do a tikkun with Makom because he made himself pass for his brother. And in Hebrew, it's called b'makom. He did something instead of his brother. And then later, the same will be done to him between Rachel and Leah. That Leah will come b'makom instead of Rachel, instead of, literally in Hebrew, in the place of. And that will be the kind of karma, the kind of tikkun he will have to pay as part of his spiritual work of growing and being in the right place. And in this liminal space, in this in-between moment, he realizes that nowhere else than here is the place where he is, the makom where he is. And if ever it's been part of our history, of our collective history, to move from makom, to be chased from makom to makom, expelled from place to place. And if today, in some places in the world, people are contesting our makom, our place, just to remember that the true makom is not where we are on this little planet. It's within each of us. It's the divine. And that's always available, always here with us. And that's true strength. Just an invitation to set an intention to come back to the place. Perhaps today or perhaps this week in our daily life, every time we feel a little bit destabilized by a conversation or taken away from the present moment, to come back to the place, to come back home, to find our ground, and to remember that we don't need to seek our place in the world, that we are within the home of God. May we feel home, and may we make others around us feel home. May our groundedness remind people that they too can be grounded, that they too can be centered, that they too can come back home. Beautiful breath in and out. Let's get ready to stay Kaddish with Rabbi Mark.
As always, thank you so much to our treasure teacher, Rabba Mira. Beautiful teaching today. And we seal the practices we do each day by offering an opportunity for those of you who are in mourning or observing a yard site in this season, or if it's your custom to join in the mourner's Kaddish. And if you're not reciting Kaddish, we really encourage you to stay present for a moment to support those who are. And if you are reciting Kaddish, you can put the name or names of those you're honoring today in the chat now or after. And please join me by rising in body or in spirit. And you can unmute at this time.
Buchdahl,
Aldi Kalashe Yamadi Bash Ebi Mafute Kayakon Kamefon Kaye Tefoti Agala Usman Kari Ru Amen. Shme Rabba Mevara Ramaya Tabach Paar Bitaton Say Dar Bitale Bitafon Busha Ela Himkol Birchata Bashirata Bechata Benechamata Da Amiran Ba'ama Rabba Min Shemaya Seh Shalom Bimamav Yaseh Shalom Ali Kol Yisrael Kol Yoshvei Tevel Zimru
Amen.
Amen.
And friends, thanks so much for joining us today. Thank you so much to our teacher, Rabba Mira and Neshama Niculescu, for leading us beautifully today. And of course, thanks to our sponsors for today, Barbara Stock, Martha Gunsberg, Catherine Fisher, who sponsored our practice today in honor of Rabba Mira, and Rabbi Sam Feinsmith and their beautiful Torah teaching over 5785 Torah cycle. Thanks to Rachel Huguet for holding our text space. And maybe Rachel, if you would share again the link for those of you who are moved to express your gratitude for IJS and for these free offerings by making a contribution, which, as I mentioned, will be matched through December 5th. If you already are a contributor, maybe you consider raising it a little bit or making an extra donation today in recognition and gratitude for today's beautiful teaching. And we thank you both for your support and we thank you in advance for your contributions. Mira, thank you as always. This Parsha, I guess I'm thinking there were at least 10, probably many more amazing Jewish mindfulness meditation teachings that you can get from this episode of Yaakov leaving. And I'm especially struck by the paradox that you described of this happening, as the Torah describes it, his experience of connecting with the makom, the place, happening when he's not in his place, when he's in that liminal place. And then, of course, that happens collectively too for the whole people in the Sinai, right? When they're neither here nor, when we're neither here nor there. So I just want to invite you to maybe elaborate on that a little bit. Like, what do we make of that? And does that lead to, do you think it leads to the conclusion that the only way we really can connect more deeply with that sense of place is by at least temporarily stepping out of it, or in the moments when we are most uprooted, I guess, from our usual sense of place, or whether having a sense of, the flip side of that same question is, do you think having a set place kind of undermines spiritual experience in that way too, just because of the sameness of it, or the rote?
I think it's a profound question. And I think the truth is that it's not so much about the place as it is about what it does to us to have a place and to not have a place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the true question, or the ikar here, is vulnerability. Because you can stay in the same place your whole life, but when life hits, there is always a displacement, right? Within, even if it's not, it doesn't mean exile, right? And the displacement is things were this way and now they're this way, that way, right? And so my comfort zone, I'm out of my comfort zone. That's what we're talking about. And the vulnerability that comes out of being out of our comfort zone is, for better or for worse, and whether we want it or not, these are the places where we grow. Why? Because we are not asleep, because that's when we awake, because that's when suddenly we start looking differently and are open to receiving different things. Because when you've lost everything, And when you're so vulnerable, you are more available.
Mm-hmm.
More willing to we're more open to things we would have never considered before. And I will, share a strong example, very recent example. I very much think about him often, and my students that I see some of you here have heard me mention him. Or Levi, who was one of the hostages who returned a few months ago. And he said, he self-describes as a chiloni, as a non-religious person. He had never thought, it had never occurred to him to speak to God. He didn't even know what God meant, right? And he said when he found himself at first in a small apartment, spontaneously he started speaking to a crack in the wall, because that's what there was. And he just felt he needed to. And that's Hibodedut. This is just, it's interesting to see how we don't need to have teachers tell us what to do. In extreme situations, for better and for worse, things come out of us that we have a need for connection. And then when he was brought in a tunnel, then he spoke to this kind of lead lamp. And when the lamp was gone and he was in the pitch dark, he heard himself start speaking to Elohim. It just came out of him. And so in this place, which was a no man's land also, a place of captivity, a place of exile and despair and etc., Yaakov in a very different way, because it's also at night, which is this metaphor also for a place that is scary and lonely and dangerous, right? Uncertainty. Then something cracked open in awe, and he started like connecting. And maybe he didn't say Manora Makom as Yaakov says when he wakes up, Nora as in, this is so powerful. And that's what he described, that he had such powerful encounters with life source that are beyond any idea of institutional religiosity. It's just a spontaneous. So just to come back to your question,
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there is something that happens when we are out of place, when we're displaced. And it's not about the place, the physical place. I do think, by the way, that it actually is part, again, for better or for worse, of the kind of blessing in disguise that they were in the Jewish historical experience of exile, because
Right.
it did become stronger and richer and deeper. In the Torah, when we say you shall love the stranger because you've been a stranger, and it's the same thing, you've been displaced, therefore have compassion towards the displaced. And here the makom is a metaphor for this kind of vulnerability that comes out of displacement. And sometimes displacement is tragedy, and sometimes it's exile. But that's really what we're talking about. It's not about sameness, it's about really when we, well, in a way, in that sense of, I believe in repetition, actually. I believe in the a virtue of repetition for spiritual practice. But there is something about comfort zone, familiar spaces that can put us to sleep, and that's Egypt. And that's what we had to get out of it.
Yeah. It's reminding me of the another paradox that's very similar in Jewish tradition between keva and kavanah. What you just said was making me think of that. Keva meaning, a fixed ritual, right? And kavanah is the intention behind it that kind of gives it its life in some way, and that we need both. And also that the Jewish people, of course, we do have the establishment of the state as a makom, and we also still have galut. We still have a diaspora community as well that's not living there, and it makes this a very live question in some way. So I wanted to ask you the flip side of that question. You kind of spoke to this a little bit, but um, when we notice we are in a makom, when we're feeling, uh, I guess, safe wherever we are, wherever we are, we feel safe and fixed in our ways. Would be your suggestion to restore some aliveness to that? You know, um, when we're in our kind of safe zone, like not out of not pushing the envelope in that way, and we
Yeah, yeah.
recognize that.
I think it's an excellent question. I think it's about waking up to the freshness of the moment. And so here we switch from space to time.
Mm.
I can be the same space, but if I realize that this space, I'm arriving now. I'm arriving now, right? When we say Baruch haba, Bruchim habaim, when we say welcome, everyone, we say basically welcome blessed those who are coming. It's a continuous present. So we are continuously arriving somewhere. And if we renew our present to the place, then the place is new. And I believe these are practices of gratitude, looking around and saying, wow, thank you for this place. And I can the same for my body. Thank you for this place. The body is my makom in the world. And so I think it's shifting. And I think a lot of spiritual practice is about repetition, because repetition makes a shift from sameness in space to renewal in time.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I got distracted because I'm looking at the chat for a second to extract a question. Like there are a couple of very good questions I want to try to bring in the last few minutes. One of which is the teaching from Bereshit Rabba that you brought in, that the world is the makom of the divine, but I always get it wrong. What is the world is not the world is the makom of the mind, but
I also always I will tell you exactly what he says.
God is the makom of the world, but the world is not the makom.
Exactly.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Which I guess is kind of a shorthand way of saying that the divine is both immanent, that is, dwells within, right, this world and within everything, and is also beyond,
Exactly.
other, unknowable, mystery, right? That's how I understand it. How about you?
Yeah, it's like the earth, this little thing, is part of God's infinite presence. So
Hmm.
we are Etzel God, in Hebrew, like we're in the house of God,
Right.
but not in a house. So God is not in a temple, and that's also why we're free of the constraints of we have holy spaces, but we make them holy. And then when we lose our holy spaces, we can survive that destruction, because when we get together as we are doing right now, this is a temple.
Hmm.
Bet HaMikdash, we're sharing Torah, we're sharing presence, we're inviting the Shekhinah, the divine presence between us right now. And it's real. It's not just words, it's happening right now.
Hmm. Yeah. And you just mentioned Shekhinah, so that's one more way that's expressed in tradition is in Jewish mysticism is um, the last or the innermost of the Sfirot. The Malchut represents Shekhinah, the divine presence, the indwelling, but then we also have Ein Sof, the limitless, beyond the totally unknowable mystery. That's also the Makom of the universe, which is unknowable.
And by the way, this infinity, we get to access it when we sit and when we're present. And that's what I love about presence, is that we tap into this kind of limitless
Yeah.
space. And it's very precious.
Yeah, Ruth was asking, wanted to invite you to say a little bit more about connecting Hamakam with our inner strength. And when you were offering suggestions for the practice, you invited people just at the simple level, shot really to come back to the body, right, as the Makom. But then you also invited us to think about, I don't remember exactly what you said, but to understand Makom is our essence, really, our soul, which is our kind of the thread that connects us to that infinite.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Our consciousness, our dat, in Hebrew, it's our dat. Our dat is a spark of the divine. And that's what's so beautiful, is that when I come back to my body and I come back to my breath, the breath is very meaningful. It's very significant, because the breath is none other than the divine life breath. It's Nishmat Chaim. And so when I come back to the place, I come back to this kind of very powerful essence of presence, which is already awakened. And so when we learn to just come back to it, then we're in the presence of God. Where we're tapping into this, not just me and God. It's really the divine that's within me. I can access it. That's why meditation is both extremely simple and extremely powerful, you know. Just
Mhm.
before I forget, because I was just reminded, I forgot to send you the upcoming opportunities to practice with me. And one of them is Torah. It's a Hanukkah journey. And if I don't say it, they're going to be
Yes.
really mad at me.
Okay.
Here it is. I'm posting
Got
the
it.
link, and the link also to my classes, which are always ongoing, Torah class and meditation. And that's also where people can write to me, because I saw questions that we didn't get to address. And so if someone really feels, oh my God, I really wanted to ask this question, you have my website, you can ask the question. Sorry about this.
No, no. Thank you. I'm glad we got that in. And also, I saw there were a number of comments in the chat that said this was just perfect for era of Thanksgiving here in the United States.
Right.
There's so much gratitude elicited by your teaching today, Mira. We're always grateful to you for the gift of your offerings, and very happy to lift up and spread word about them as well. So have a great stay in Barcelona.
Thank
And
you. And I wish all my American friends a happy Thanksgiving, really. And as Jews, we do it twice because we say Modéani in the morning also. So really, happy Thanksgiving.
it is. Thank you so much. Thanks to Rachel for holding us together and for all of you for being here. And just a reminder, of course, you can access, we won't be here live the next couple of days, but I do want to let you know that the Monday session with Rabbi Shefa Gold, which was focused on the quality of gratitude, is available as our podcast, Jewish Meditation for Everyone. So wherever you get your podcast, if you'd like to use that as a little spiritual practice for getting into Thanksgiving or on the day itself, it's a wonderful opportunity to chant and to sit with Rabbi Shefa. So just a little plug for that as well. Okay, everyone, be safe and well. Happy Thanksgiving to those who celebrate, and much gratitude to you all. Take good care.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much, everyone.
Pleasure.